Andes plane crash. Survival at 70 days. On October 13th, 1972, members of a rugby team chartered the Uruguayan Air Force Flight 571 to Chile for a match. However, their journey took a tragic turn when co-pilot Lieutenant Colonel Dante Laguara made a critical error, causing the plane to crash in a remote, icy region of Argentina. Out of 45 passengers, 33 survived, albeit with many critically injured. Despite extensive search efforts from aircraft across Chile, Argentina, and Uruguay, the rescue teams were unable to locate the wreckage, hidden beneath a thick layer of snow. As the harsh weather persisted, the search was called off, with authorities believing no one could have survived. Then, 70 days later, shockwaves hit the world when survivors Nando Parado and Roberto Canessa trekked 50 miles to Chile, bringing word of additional survivors in the mountains. Within 2 days, the Chilean Air Force rescued 16 survivors, reuniting them with their families. The story of their endurance captured global attention, but the details of their survival were harrowing. Initially, they relied on the food they had brought, but when supplies ran out, they resorted to the unthinkable, consuming the flesh of deceased passengers. One infamous photo depicted what appeared to be a human spine, igniting a media frenzy and outrage from families of the lost. Rumors circulated that survivors had killed fellow passengers, giving rise to the phrase, "rugby players eat their dead." Eventually, the uproar subsided, aided by a supportive telegram from Pope Paul IV. The remains of the 29 victims were buried at the crash site, with 15 consisting of mere bones and 13 found intact. Smile JPG. Smile Dog, also known as Smile JPG, is one of the internet's most chilling creepypasta legends, representing a cursed image that you should never seek out. The infamous file is an old, grainy JPG of a dog, except this dog has unsettlingly human-like teeth, glowing eyes, and a blood-red background, all accompanied by a sinister smile. The legend tells of a floppy disk sent to a woman named Mary E., who was researching paranormal phenomena. After viewing the image, she experienced vivid nightmares, spiraling into paranoia and a mental breakdown. Tragically, she eventually took her own life, leaving behind a note that read, "Smile, God loves you." What makes smile.jpg particularly disturbing is the belief that once you see it, it infects you like a visual virus. Many who have encountered the image report headaches, seizures, and hallucinations. Online forums are filled with users warning others not to search for it, with some claiming it appears in inboxes or hidden links, whispering in dreams. Spread the word. Anatoly Moskvin, the doll collector. Anatoly Moskvin was known for his brilliance as a journalist, historian, and linguistic expert, with some even labeling him a genius. However, in 2011, he earned a far darker reputation: the creepy man who collected dead girls. His unsettling story began when police received multiple reports of graves being robbed in and around Nizhny Novgorod, Russia. After 2 years of surveillance, they caught Anatoly in the act of digging up a grave. Upon searching the apartment he shared with his parents, authorities discovered something horrifying. Life-sized dolls filled the space. What set Anatoly apart was that these were not ordinary dolls. They were the mummified remains of young girls. He had adorned them with buttons and toy eyes to make it seem as if they could watch cartoons with him. Some even housed music boxes in their chests, emitting sounds at his touch. He kept doll-making manuals and maps of local cemeteries, all concealed from his parents, who believed he simply had a peculiar hobby. In total, 29 corpses were found in his apartment, with ages ranging from 3 to 25. Diagnosed with a form of paranoid schizophrenia, Anatoly has since been confined to a psychiatric clinic, allowing the dead to finally rest in peace. Vulture and the Little Girl. In 1993, during the Sudan famine, one of the most haunting photos ever captured emerged. Vulture and the Little Girl, taken by South African photojournalist Kevin Carter. This deeply unsettling image shows a frail, starving girl collapsed on the ground while a vulture looms just feet away, seemingly waiting for her to succumb. Taken near a UN food center in Aoud, Sudan, the photo quickly became a symbol of the horror and helplessness of famine. What intensified its eeriness was the controversy that followed. People began questioning whether the girl survived and why Carter didn't help her. He claimed she managed to crawl away, but her fate was never confirmed. leaving the story steeped in darkness. Speculations grew. Some alleged he waited 20 minutes to capture the perfect shot before shooing the vulture away, while others believed he never intervened at all. In 1994, Carter won a Pulitzer Prize for the photograph, which led to accusations that he prioritized accolades over compassion. Tragically, just months later, burdened by guilt and trauma from his experiences, Carter took his own life. His final note reflected the horrors he had witnessed and could never escape. Tomoko in the bath. In 1971, a seemingly calm photograph emerged, depicting a mother tenderly holding her daughter in a bath. At first glance, the image of Tomoko Uemura appears serene, but knowing the backstory transforms it into something haunting and deeply unsettling. Tomoko, born in Japan in the early 1970s, suffered from severe mercury poisoning, known as Minamata disease. This devastating condition was caused by industrial wastewater dumped into the sea by the Chiso Corporation, affecting thousands. But Tomoko's case was particularly extreme. The photograph, taken by Pulitzer Prize-winning photographer W. Eugene Smith as part of his work on the Minamata tragedy, aimed to illustrate the human cost of unchecked corporate greed, and it succeeded, perhaps too well. Years later, the photo resurfaced on the internet, appearing on creepy forums and lists of disturbing images. Viewers found something eerie about the photo. Despite the soft light and still water, there was an unsettling quality to the way Tomoko's frail body folded into her mother's arms. Some viewers experienced chills, feeling as though Tomoko's gaze was fixed on something invisible just beyond their sight. As the image circulated, urban legends began to form around it. Whispers spread that the photograph was cursed, with people who stared too long experiencing a profound sadness. Eventually, Tomoko's family pulled the photo from circulation, claiming it had been misused. By that point, however, the damage had been done, and the image had already become a chilling part of internet folklore. The tragedy of Blanche Monnier. On May 23, 1901, the Attorney General of Paris received an anonymous letter alleging that a starving unmarried woman was locked away in the home of Madame Monnier. The Monnier family was well respected and belonged to the nobility, making them unlikely candidates for such a horrific crime. Nonetheless, the police acted on the tip-off and forced their way into the house, only to be confronted with a scene of unimaginable neglect and suffering. Inside, they found Blanche Monnier, Madame Monnier's daughter, emaciated and surrounded by old food, excrement, insects, and vermin. Blanche had vanished in 1876, a beautiful young woman from a wealthy family, once courted by affluent suitors. However, she was enamored with a poor lawyer, an attachment that her mother and brother viewed as an ultimate disgrace to their family reputation. In a tragic turn, Blanche was confined to a tiny attic room, chained to her bed, and left to suffer in isolation. For the next 25 years, her family mournfully claimed that she had disappeared, even after her fiancé's death, while they continued to imprison her. When Blanche was finally discovered at the age of 56, she weighed only 25 kilograms and had succumbed to madness due to her years of torment. Madame Monnier was arrested but died just 15 days later, while her brother faced legal consequences but was ultimately acquitted, deemed mentally incompetent. Shockingly, there was no law preventing a brother from rescuing his sister from their mother's clutches. Tragically, Blanche would survive for another decade after her rescue, living out her remaining years in a psychiatric hospital before passing away. The murder of Lisa Holm. In June 2015, a tragic case unfolded in Bloomberg, Sweden, leaving a community devastated. Lisa Holm, a 17-year-old who worked a summer job at a local coffee shop, went missing on the night of June 7th. After finishing her shift, she texted her father to say she was heading home on her moped. However, Lisa never returned. When her father checked for her hours later, he discovered her moped abandoned, with the key still in the ignition but no sign of Lisa. This prompted an extensive search effort, with hundreds of volunteers combing the area over the next 5 days. During the search, they found small items belonging to Lisa, such as her cell phone case and driver's license, which suggested she might still be in the vicinity. The search eventually led to a neighboring farm where a suspicious man claimed that the area had already been searched. Distrusting him, the volunteers continued their efforts and soon uncovered Lisa's jacket and helmet in a nearby barn. Their persistence brought them to a work shed where they discovered the heartbreaking reality. Lisa's lifeless body was found hanging with a rope around her neck. Investigators uncovered that Lisa had been hanged in the barn before her body was hidden away in the workshed. DNA evidence found on her body, and the ropes linked the crime to Neris Belvegas, a 35-year-old Lithuanian man. Remarkably, this was the same man who had tried to deter the volunteers during their search. Evidence revealed that Neris had a troubling history, including a trove of pornography on his computer, and it was found that he had been watching the girls in the coffee shop from his room. Neris was sentenced to life in prison for his heinous crime, but his time behind bars was fraught with violence. He was attacked by other inmates, cooked with hot water, and tragically, in 2022, he was fatally stabbed by another prisoner, Annalisa Michel, and the exorcism death. In 1976, Annalisa, a young woman from a devout Catholic family in West Germany, began experiencing severe health issues at the age of 16, suffering from seizures. By the time she reached 20, she was diagnosed with psychosis and depression, leading to heavy psychiatric medication. However, her condition deteriorated. She exhibited disturbing behaviors, such as eating insects and drinking her own urine. In one shocking episode, she bit the head off a dead bird. Annalisa's family, alarmed by her increasingly erratic behavior and her claims of hearing voices, decided to discontinue her medications and sought the Roman Catholic Church's intervention. They requested an exorcism, which the church approved. Over the next 10 months, priests Ernst Alt and Arnold Renz performed 67 exorcisms on Annalisa. These sessions were grueling, lasting up to 4 hours each, during which Annalisa was often restrained and forced to kneel. The physical toll was severe, resulting in broken bones and untreated wounds, yet the rituals continued unabated. As the weeks went by, Annalisa's health deteriorated drastically. She stopped eating and, at her death, weighed a mere 33 kilograms. She succumbed to dehydration and malnutrition at the age of 23. Following her death, both priests and Annalisa's parents were put on trial for negligent homicide. The court found them guilty, but while the priests received sentences of 3 years probation, Annalisa's parents did not serve jail time, as they were deemed to have suffered enough through their loss.
Thanks for watching. I hope you like it. Next video will be coming soon. Bye!